After 9 months of planning and 3 setbacks, we were finally on our way into the Muzo region in North Rwanda mountains. The sanctuary was on the back of the truck. The fresh bread was ready for the Muzo villages of North Rwanda. In the northern part of Rwanda, there was a lot of trouble in the past during the time of the genocide, and also many misconceptions of the sanctuary program had been spread there during the summer months. The sanctuary was set up outdoors in the overhang of the government housing that was given to us. They had moved their offices, so we had an empty house to live in, and off the side of it we had our meetings open air. Many people came by foot in the dark, early morning, without any shoes on, walking for an hour to 2 hours to reach the place of the meeting site. It was a neutral zone at the culture center of the government, so there weren't any prejudice to overcome, and many people came. Some out of curiosity, some because they'd heard of the program. As we had struggled to pack many extra items of clothing, ties, and shoes, it was difficult to get them onto the airplane, but we were comforted during flight with Rainbow, and thrilled that we had the help of Chris and her mom getting those things paid for and onto the plane. The mountains of North Rwanda are very steep, like they had been created by some volcano. They came to a sharp point, and there were gardens all the way up the sheer steep sides, making it very beautiful. The children came. Some of them departed from school wanting to hear Bible stories, and whenever we would rest, they'd come and pound on the window, "Please, Bible stories," all day long. The government leaders were good about welcoming us, providing housing, generator, place to bathe and wash and get water. Winnie was a great help through all of this. And Pastor Obed asked forgiveness for earlier events in May. It was a great location for having clinic. A soldier provided bedding, a mattress, and the benches from the government offices supported the mat. I even tumbled out one morning. The clinic drew such huge crowds that it was the concern of the government leader that I could not possibly see all those people. And one of those busy days, he closed the clinic because he wanted to hold a meeting. This child had a terrible burn, making it so it could not close his eye. Therefore, he was blind in that eye and very infected. The people could not understand why I could not see more people. They all wanted to be first so they could be seen. This woman had scars from where she had believed she was allowing evil spirits and poison to escape from her body. His child fell, had quite an injury. This little 15-year-old had crippled foot from birth. She was an orphan. So many are suffering because there's no good medical services that they can afford up in the mountains. There's such a hunger for Bible. It's amazing how they came early in the morning. I was only planning to give them 5-minute worship in the morning, but they came and wanted enough so that they received 3 to 4 hours each morning and each evening, and then they still wanted more during the noon time. So we did 8 to 10 hours of Bible teaching a day. They enjoyed the outdoor meetings, and they were so well attended. God stopped the rain several times when we prayed to keep our projectors from being ruined. We did a dual screen. We had 2 sheets hanging, master bed size white sheets, and projected with 2 projectors onto those, and it accommodated the crowds from both sides of the sheet. They could see the pictures. It was a challenge when it rained, trying to keep the expensive cloth from being destroyed, but many helped us. Keeping the candles burning was another challenge when the wind was blowing. I reminded them of the pillar of cloud promise in Isaiah 4, 5, and 6, and Patriarchs and Prophets, page 282 and 283. We were thrilled to have a teacher from a school nearby come and translate for us. He took a vacation time off so he could do that for the Lord. He did a very nice job. He switched off with Stephen. The crowd grew every night. We praised God for the huge crowds and for the response every night. There were people wanting to be baptized. And for the bare feet, we were happy. We had many shoes to give away. And during quiz time, when they got it right, we'd draw around their foot, and the next day they had to come to get their shoe. When it rained really bad during the day, Jenny took the picture roll into the nearby schoolhouse just for adult school and told stories out of the picture roll. Many young people listened carefully and answered the quiz questions right. It was a beautiful thing to watch them memorizing and learning the Bible and wanting it more than they wanted to go to school. Then they set up for the wedding of the Lamb. There were no palm branches to make the arches, so we found some tall grass, and they dug holes in the ground and planted them and found these beautiful flowers and tucked them on there. The wedding of the Lamb is what we call the final service with the Feast of Tabernacles, describing heaven. It was to be done on Sabbath, and we prepared everything on Friday. Everything was ready by the sunset. We were very happy with how everything looked. And there, all through the day, there was a pillar, a big cloud over the sanctuary, and it comforted me, knowing that God was there, helping me through every challenge that I faced. And did we have many challenges? And we smiled, knowing that God was right there, knowing He promised in Isaiah 4, 5, and 6, and Patriarchs and Prophets 283. Then, in the night, after the last meeting, there was some whispering. There was trouble. There was midnight trouble. After we went to bed, the trouble got strong, and they had a committee meeting down across the valley on the other side of the mountain. And those who were attending the committee looked back at the sanctuary where we were, and they saw this pillar of fire. They said it was oval-shaped, and it was up really tall, and in the very center it looked like fire. And the woman in the picture shows flowers in her hands. She's the sister of Stephen who saw it and pointed it out to the other 2 sisters. They were very cautious what they said in the committee meeting against us. And the next morning, Sabbath morning, they were telling us after the 5 o'clock morning meeting that we were not going to be allowed to do Sabbath school in church, but that there was another program being held by the pastor and the head elders and everyone. And when they're all finished in the afternoon, we could do our planned services. And there was a huge crowd. 5 churches from many different directions had come to join us. But God had warned them in the night, and my heart was not feeling very good. It was skipping beats and going real fast, and I was exhausted and a little dehydrated, so I took a rest and waited for them. And they had their Sabbath services, and suddenly they were cut short, and they began begging, "Please, everyone wants to see your program." So we started our wedding of the Lamb had the procession with the runner, and the people did not see the same beauty they would have seen. It was shorter and cut in half with a break in between, but they got what we had given planned to give them, at least in some brief format. Then later, another day, was the baptism. Right above the mobile Jordan, this man pulled up the hill with a truck, and while they were filling it, there was a pillar of cloud. It was so encouraging and beautiful. As they were filling the Jordan, getting ready for the baptism, you climb the stairs up into this thing that comes along behind a truck. They detach it from the truck and set it up nicely and fill it with water. Then the baptism occurs where the people climb in using the steps, and they try not to bump their head against the side. As the people came out, Jenny gave them Bibles. It was beautiful. Winnie, the government leader, was there. She was the one used by God to set up our free lodging and generator and all the facilities. She had lined everything up for us. Winnie looked real pleased, and I'm sure God was pleased that she arranged those things for us. It was my surprise, and she said, "This is your day." And she smiled and said, "Look what God has done." It was encouraging to watch even soldiers being baptized. They had asked every day, "When's the baptism? We want to be ready." But then there were many children disappointed because they were not baptized. Jenny gave them Bibles. And there were 100 more people sad because they were not allowed to be baptized for different reasons. And we didn't know what was going on in the other languages. The man who pulled the Jordan up for the baptism was so concerned because the grade was so steep bringing that up. But we had anticipated this struggle and had prayed that the angels would help push in the most difficult areas, in the switchbacks where the road is washed by water, and where it is so severely steep you cannot stand on it. The angels had to have helped assist that Jordan, the mobile baptistry up the hill. The pastor arranged for people to appear in the churches for good follow-up and making sure that people were continuing on in their Bible study. And we were surprised as Stephen's sisters provided a beautiful little woven basket and some fruit and some flowers with all the colors of the sanctuary, and a special hug and love. They had also brought us some food throughout, some fruits from the garden and beans and some stuff that had been bought to make sure. As we ended down at the bottom of the mountain getting ready to go to Burundi, all the things arrived safely by the truck, and the truck driver was quite interested, for he has become quite acquainted with us. Also, Reuben allowed us to lodge in his home and provided food and water and all the kindness of hospitality, and arranged for the journey to Bujumbura border while we took the flight. He had also helped us arranging the tickets to fly from Kigali to Burundi. And at the final end of our stay in Kigali, he helped us to get onto the airplane in spite of my back problem that happened in Gisenyi while I was packing. A rainbow in the sky alerted me to the fact that Jesus already had things in control. He'd already lined up the help I needed. Bosco, who works in the government customs, was helping at the airport to stamp and to help Jenny do all the arrangements while I sat with my sore back waiting for the wheelchair. Then Reuben finished with Jenny, and they took her to the plane, and they came around and wheeled me by wheelchair around the back gate and through and on into the airplane. God has provided for, He has sent us to do these jobs, and He knew beforehand what would be the trouble. This has been supported by Warner and members of the Adventist Church in Spokane, and by the Kigali English Church members, Peter and Mary and Reuben, and by Mark Finley, who gave a recommendation letter, who was able to help open the door with the help of Reuben, talking to the conference president in the field. My family all love and support and pray for us as we go on these journeys for Jesus. Our website is illustratedbible.net, and our email is biblesforyou@yahoo.com.